All right. So we are here to talk about this wonderful tool called Packback. And we have with us from Packback, Nick Petrella. He can wave hello to you. And he's also brought a colleague okay, Chevon, I've just gone blank. North Carolina State? Is that right? NC State?
Virginia
No.
Tech.
Virginia Tech. Okay, see, I knew it was East Coast. All right. Chevon Thorpe from Virginia Tech, who's been using it for several years, and she's going to talk about her experience. And we also have on the line Patrice Williams from JSU Online. She's been really leading this effort and helping us get our faculty onboarded. Um, I'm really excited about it as a professor of English who tries to get my students to write more, but I'm seeing the influence of AI, and this is just a terrific tool to keep them writing, but also to keep them engaged in their own thinking. So, Nick, if you would like to just kind of give us an overview, then we'll hear from Siobhan, and then we'll kind of talk through people's questions and there are a couple of you who were given access to something this morning, so we'll talk about that as well. Nick?
Yeah, absolutely. And if anybody else is interested after the meeting, I'll follow up with you all to see if this is something for your courses, create communities, give you something to mess around in, check it out for yourself, and then help you set up for the fall. So I guess I'll start with a little bit of about what Packback is. So Packback's a writing and discussion tool. We're working with, given the semester, 20-ish faculty at JSU, online, in person, almost every department, criminal justice, sociology, biology, chemistry, finance. So we work in probably every building. It's great being on campus in every building. I feel like I run into somebody that I'm working with. So lots of friendly faces. But then Packback's a writing and discussion tool. So really good for online discussion. We're coaching students in real time, helping them to understand concepts, but to dive a little deeper when they're asking these questions and then interacting with their peers. So seeing a lot of success in every style of course there, and then writing a little bit more self-explanatory. But what we're able to do is we're actually able to coach students in real time. So we're leveraging instructional AI to help assist them when it means the most. So when they're actually doing these assignments and when they can improve upon their grade. What we're also doing is we are able to auto grade some of this for our instructors, save you all a little bit of time. And then the newest feature, which I'll share my screen and touch on all of this in a second, is the process report. So giving instructors a little bit of a look behind the curtain as to where students spent their time during the writing process. We understand that AI is a huge part of what's going on today. And what's really tough is whether you are a big fan of AI, whether you are anti-AI, it's like students are going to be using it. They're curious the same way that we are. So helping to give them the opportunity to use it in an ethical way rather than just having to maybe write an entire paper for them, which is never the goal in education. We want the students to be doing the work. So what I will do is I will share my screen and we can dive in. I'll give a brief rundown, walkthrough of what Packback is, and then answer any questions. And then I'll have Siobhan as well, who's used the platform in a million different ways, answer any questions, maybe talk on her experiences as well. But she's been a great user of the platform for many years now. I think five-ish, maybe 5+ now. It's been a while. Cool. So this will be a biology course, but again, if you're not in the biology department, like I said, we work with tons of other courses, so we can always find one that's more specific as an example for you. But this is Dr. Rachel Curtis's, and then so this is her intro to bio course. She's got a good amount of students, so this was one of the ways to help her save a little bit of time. What Packback is going to be doing, or what Packback is it's going to be a bank of student asked questions in the discussion board. So students will come to Packback, ask one question, respond to one or two of their peers for anywhere between 10 and 20% of their grade. We see upwards of like 50% of their grade. But this gives these students the opportunity to ask the questions and be curious about the content that is being discussed. So I'll click into a question. I'll find one with responses just to show you what this looks like and how it may be a little bit different than a typical Canvas discussion board. So students go in, they'll ask the question, but it won't just stop there. Students will then be getting coached to defend and support their question, with more details. So asking a really good open-ended question, is the sky blue? Not going to fly in Packback. We are going to want them to have that be an open-ended question, and then they'll be able to go in and give more details. And then sources are awesome as well. So an academic journal, really good source. We'll be coaching them towards higher level sources, academic journals, rather than like blog posts and Wikipedia. Now, in the responses, I'm sure you've all seen a Canvas discussion board. I was a Canvas student and a COVID student, so I was well versed in the discussion boards and like the, oh yeah, I totally agree, great point. That's not going to fly in Packback either. Students will have to respond to the question, but they'll have to give more details to get up to this effort-based threshold that I'll touch on in a second. So again, they'll give a really good source and then they'll have a good response. Now, this one, not as great of a response. The student's not going to get their points. I'll show you what that looks like. So this is what we're striving towards, what's going to get these students their points when they're going in and asking their questions and doing the responses. When students come in, before they go to ask their question, they're going to see this guidepost. This guidepost is the instructions from the instructor as to what they want the students to be discussing. So genetic mutations, giving some really good details as to what this is going to be, what the students are going to do to get their points, what they're going to be discussing, mind your ABCs, and then respond to at least one classmate to get the full points for the week for this discussion. Now, students will go in, they'll click the big red ask a new question button. It's a student-driven discussion, but we see instructors ask questions as well all the time. We can touch on that if you would rather have yourself ask the questions as to what that will look like, but we'll talk just based class by class. Now, I'll add some demo text so you all don't have to watch me type, but this is going to be line by line feedback. It's once the student hits 20 words, they're going to be getting coached on the 4 C's of a great academic question: the curiosity, the credibility, the communication, and the convention. Now I'll delete some text just to show you that this is all in real time. So as text is added, as it's deleted, these bubbles are going to change, and then this curiosity score range will change as well. Now, this curiosity score is not an A through F scale. Rather, it's a 0 through 100 effort-based scale. So as long as students hit at or above this minimum curiosity score that we set together based on the level of the course, students will get full points for the week, and that'll automatically be passed back into the Canvas gradebook. I'll pause here just for a second because I know I've talked to everybody for a second now on what the discussion board is. Any questions that anybody has, feel free to come off mute. And I can just discuss while it's top of mind. Or if you have questions at the end, absolutely can answer them as well. Good. Awesome. So that is the discussion board in a nutshell. Now there's more tips, there's tricks. If you're asking the questions, there's ways to filter the feed. We can get all into all of that in a different meeting and get into the specifics based on what you're looking for out of Packback. But I'll go over and switch to our writing side of the platform to show you what that looks like. This will all live within Packback right on this left-hand navigation bar, which then lives all within Canvas. Now, when you're going in to set up these assignments, super simple, super easy. I'll start from the beginning and just show you what it looks like. So managing assignments, adding assignments, and then deep dive, super simple, super easy. The prompt and the rubric. I'm sure you already have these on hand. My job is I help faculty to implement Packback for their first time using. So if you have these prompts, you have these rubrics, you're like, oh, I want to use Packback. How would it fit? I work with you. You send them my way. I can put them into Packback and we can go and just touch base and be like, hey, this is what it looks like. Make those tweaks and make it exactly what you want. But for setting it up, prompt title, the description, these guiding questions are really cool. They'll be at the forefront for students when they're going in doing their writing, constantly reminded to address these questions. And then your eye will actually be guided to where these questions were addressed. So help to speed up that grading process just a little bit. And then we also give you a space to add in any recommended resources for the students to have on hand. Now, prompts, super simple, super easy. Now, the rubric is our really customizable smart rubric that really comes to life. So these 5 categories: word count, word choice and depth, research quality, formatting, grammar mechanics, and flow and structure are all things that we know can really hold back students from effectively communicating content and ideas. And if you have writing in your class, I'm sure it isn't your favorite thing in the world to grade. What we're able to do is actually coach the students on this in real time and then auto grade that for you as the instructor. So saves 30-ish% of the time and allows you to now solely focus on the content and ideas. So you're able to go through, if this is a paper that doesn't require any sources, any research, just unclick the box. We won't be grading for that any longer. But then what you're able to do is the instructors build out this instructor graded rubric criteria. So this, well, it could say intro, body paragraph, not intro, body paragraph, thesis, however you would want to set it up. And then you'll define your performance levels. We'll put in exemplary, accomplished, developing, and beginning, but you could change this to full points, partial points, high, medium, low, and then assign a point value. And then what would accomplish that level. So you can build this out. Don't feel like you have to remember everything that I'm talking about today. My job will be to meet with you one-on-one and help you to set this up all in real time. I'll click out of here and I'll show you what it looks like now for the students in real time, which is always the biggest impact is what we're able to do with the real-time feedback and the real-time coaching. So I'll click in and this is all going to input at once for the sake of the demonstration. But again, this is going to be line by line feedback. So once the students hit 20 words, they'll be getting coached on those technical aspects of writing that I had mentioned. They'll be getting coached and then also auto graded. Now, what we're able to do for the students is we don't just suggest things for them to change, but we also praise the actions that they do really, really well. That's what makes a really good equitable feedback for all of your students. So if you teach at the intro level, you're going to have some students that maybe aren't as high level of writers. They're going to get more suggestions, but we work with instructors who teach at the graduate level, at the doctoral level. And so they're going to praise and reinforce those really, really good writing actions. For grammar and mechanics, for example, students will be able to go in and then view these highlights. Now, what is also really helpful for students is I think it's Grammarly that'll just go in and just change it for the students. It'll just kind of clean up an entire paper. We leave it up to the student to actually make the changes and implement them. So when they're going through the highlights, they are the ones that are going to be changing it to what they think would be best to improve upon their writing. That's what helps them to retain and actually learn on how to be a better writer. If they have any questions, they can actually interact with our instructional AI chatbot and get it explained to them. They can interact, ask a follow-up question. Now, it's going to be content agnostic. We're never going to help the student to write on the content because we understand ChatGPT or something could make it up. We just stay out of that. We're just going to coach them on the technical aspects of writing, but they have the ability to then interact with our AI chatbot, go back and forth, ask questions about how to be a better writer. Any questions on anything, real-time feedback, what it looks like for the student side of you?
They're probably overwhelmed by the opportunity to finally get the kind of feedback they need, as they're
Yes.
writing. And I just wanted to say to everyone, I told Nick, all right, you got about 10 minutes. Don't, so he's rushing through it because we
Yes.
want you to be able to kind of tell us what you're thinking about doing, asking questions. We'll hear from Chevon with some specific assignments. I will say, again, as an English professor, this is what you do when you sit down with your students to teach them to write. It's just you and the student. Now you've got basically a teaching assistant who's going to help you with that. So I think it's really a terrific tool. Okay, that was just
Yeah.
my question.
Absolutely. Thank you. We like to think of it as a digital TA. You can't stand over 30 student shoulders. I know classes get larger than that. You can't stand over every student's shoulder when they're doing their writing. So this real-time feedback is really, really helpful. I know as a student myself, I would write something, get it back in 2 weeks from my instructor, and maybe it was poorly written, but it was like, my grade's finalized. So it just didn't have that impact that it would when my grade could be changed and improved upon. Last thing I'll show you all is what it looks like for the instructors from their view. What we'll be doing is we will be checking for uniqueness, which is going to be plagiarism. That's plagiarism from the web, but also plagiarism from other students. So any paper that's ever been written in Packback is in that database just to check for that plagiarism. So if any students copy, the instructors will be able to see. And then we'll also be checking for AI risk. That's going to be low, medium, or high. Now, when you're going in to do the grading, this is something that's already been graded, but you'll see Packback will suggest a score for those 5 categories. And you as the instructor will be able to change it if you think it's a little better, think it's a little bit worse. Typically, our instructors leave it the same or very similar just because students appreciate the transparency. The same instructional AI that was coaching them in real time is the same instructional AI that's going to be grading them. That leaves you as the instructor to now go and solely grade for the content and ideas. So going in, clicking the bubbles, if it's between, say, 50 and 33.3, you can just type it right in there, have that exact grade that you want. Leave comments, instructor feedback. If you have any, if you need to or would like to add any inline comments, you can do that as well. And then I touched on it at the beginning, but the newest feature that we have is now going to be the process report. We understand that no detection tool is perfect. A student could be like, hey, rewrite this. Now rewrite it again. Now make it sound more human. And also, you can get into a lot of trouble when you have false accusations of students because it's like there's no way to ever perfectly tell. We see it as something with like students who maybe English isn't their first language. They write a little bit more strict, I guess you could say, and then that could be something that they get in trouble for when maybe they never used AI in the first place. What we're able to give you as the instructor now is a process report as to where the students spent their time planning, drafting, revising, and reflecting. So you can see this student went in, they planned for a bit, drafted, revised, reflected, drafted, took a break. And you can see this now that they actually were writing within Packback and that they took the time during that writing process. Now, as opposed to this one, where maybe you see the student drafted for a minute and a half and then reflected for 2 minutes. Not to say that didn't go and copy from a Google Doc, but if Packback says it was high AI risk, it reads like AI. And then you also see this. Maybe this is that conversation that you want to have with this student. We always want our students to write in Packback for a few reasons. One being this process report, but then the other being that real-time feedback. We want students to be able to learn while they're writing at the time of their writing and then improve upon their grade. Candace, is there anything else that you would like me to cover? I know I talked to everybody for a bit. Again, we can meet individually and then get into any of the questions and talk more specific to instructors' courses.
Yeah, let's wait until we get their questions. I think there will be a lot of questions about, the process if they're interested and
Yeah.
how do they integrate it. But I'd really like to hear from Dr. Thorpe about kind of how she's used it and what's worked for her. So
Yeah. Well, good afternoon. I know it's 1 p.m. here, but good afternoon to everyone. I really appreciate the invitation to come and share. As mentioned, my name is Chevon Thorpe, and I'm at Virginia Tech, the Blacksburg campus. And in my role, I serve as the Assistant Dean for Student Success in the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences, and I'm also Professor of Biochemistry. So I've used Packback not only in general biochemistry courses for undergraduates, which is an in-person modality, but I've also used it in graduate level courses, teaching multicultural competency, which is more of a writing heavier course, both in person and online asynchronous. So I've used the platform in a variety of different modalities. And for smaller classes and upwards of like 150 to 200 students. And so I think that speaks to many things that I like to highlight, but scalability is one that it really does kind of scale beautifully, depending on the number of students you have enrolled. I like to start off my story about kind of why I started to use the platform. And I know Nick and I, we go back a while,
Yep.
but I'll share with you that my engagement initially started with a cold meeting. I was really attracted to the company because of the pedagogical grounded, if you will, or the background of how the platform was really kind of created and how they use pedagogically informed data to kind of back the design of their product that they deliver. And so I initially was coming in first to this institution with 200 students in a subject that pretty much everyone hates. I'm okay with it. I'm aware that most people don't like STEM, and engagement was low. And so I wanted something that would engage my students to talk about science, to connect their voices, their passions, their interests to the course content. And so I decided to use Packback. In my classes, I use several of the services or products that Packback offers. I started off with the discussion platform, what that looks like in my courses. I did it several different ways, but largely, as Nick mentioned, it's student driven. And so I may give a guidepost that's really specific, saying we covered this particular chapter, this content area this week or this month. I want you to reflect on this specific thing, this research paper, this chapter, and kind of write an open-ended question about that. I've also left it truly open-ended and said, write about anything that you're passionate and interested about in the context of biochemistry. And that was really helpful to have a space where students added their voice. At the height of the COVID pandemic, as many of you can imagine, there was a lot of biochemistry related things happening to all of us. And so they were able to connect our course content with like real world issues and bring that perspective into the class. And I didn't have that built into the curriculum or the syllabus for that semester, but we were able to have depth and conversations that kind of brought the content to life. And they were given credit for that engagement, and that was really awesome. For the courses that I have that are both big and online, Packback has been a community builder. And so I have students having, again, in-depth dialogue and conversation and really great, I guess, productive arguments or constructive arguments about the material. And so I've had students cite that, they've connected with peers that they would have never spoken to. I've had students cite that they read a peer's post in a discussion platform and they've cited or attached a primary research literature or a source, and that's incited them to do undergraduate research about a topic that they didn't know that they were interested in, but hearing from a peer that really encouraged them to do so. So a lot of anecdotal positive things that are not just academic. My students' grades have increased. I've seen improvement in writing. And so again, in my biochemistry class, it's not writing heavy, but I do incorporate writing and use the platform in that sense. For the more heavier writing courses, at the undergrad and grad level, I've seen improvements in their writing. I often share with groups that it's kind of like having the writing lab in a student's back pocket. So equity is a really important thing to me. And working with students who are first gen, who have jobs, they're pulled in so many different ways. They may not be able to utilize your on-campus resource that I'm sure most of us have, but to get that real-time feedback when they're writing at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I don't want you to email me because I'm not up. They're able to cite that they're able to get that feedback and help when they're working on the assignments, which has been a game changer. As a professor, I've been able to give formative feedback more quickly to my students, which has helped them with their engagement in the course. So all the things that Nick highlighted, I've used. The AI also helps you as an instructor to kind of pinpoint where the students are kind of writing or answering those guiding questions. And so that's been a phenomenal help. It integrates beautifully in the LMS. So the auto grading features has been great. He spoke about transparency. In my evaluations of my courses, the students appreciate that level of transparency so they know exactly where their grade is coming from. So I can go on and on and on about the platform. It's a reason that I've used it for so many years. Nick, I think we're going on like 8.
Oh my gosh, if I
So
was underselling it.
it's been a while. And I will tell this group that I've been successful at showing kind of my department head and those other administrative leaders, at least in my department, the returns on investment of using this platform. And I've been successful at getting the department to cover the cost. So my students no longer pay out of pocket, and there's an investment at the departmental level to help gain access to the platform. And so you definitely can do it. The students love it. They appreciate it. It's not just some arbitrary tool, right, that we just slap on and say we're going to use. They're learning AI literacy. It's not a punitive space, which I think a lot of students feel in other courses with other professors who don't use this platform, that it's a very punitive interaction, at least at this institution. I can't speak for yours. But they're scared. They're nervous. AI is everywhere. When do I use it? When do I not? But this is integrated beautifully, so it supports their literacy and their learning. So I'll stop there, but I'd love to answer any questions that you may have.
And I want to encourage you all to just unmute and ask questions if you have them. I do feel like a lot of this group has reviewed this for and they're ready to start. So they're not
Yeah.
they're not being just sold on it, but they're ready to start. So one of the things that I think is really encouraging about this kind of tool is that, we're very worried about AI reducing our students' ability to communicate in writing, and that they're going to graduate and they're going to be behind where they need to be to go out and get good jobs and be successful. And so this really helps kind of allay some of those fears. They will be writing and they will be getting regular feedback on whatever it is that they're writing. Um, and another thing that I see, I've been in higher ed for many decades now, and one of the things that we always talk about is the need for writing outside of the communications disciplines. But as you mentioned, Siobhan, we don't always feel comfortable, or maybe it was Nick who said it, we don't feel comfortable grading students' writing if we're a biochem professor or, a social work professor. So this kind of helps take that burden off of the professor and you can really focus on the content. But they're still getting the writing, which is what I think is great. Um, I have a question, I don't know, Nick, it's for you and maybe for Patrice. So what does the integration process look like at Jackson State? If people
Yeah.
decide today they want to do it, what happens next?
It's super easy. So Packback already lives within Canvas. It's basically just turned off. You meet with me. You can do it on your own too. I've seen instructors do it on their own very easily, and they're like, "Oh yeah, no, I already did it." I'm like, "Oh great." So you just turn it on. It's in the navigation menu. You drag it up to activate it. I'll create your Packback communities for your courses on the front end, and we just link the two together. It takes like 2 minutes, really easy. And then we are part of the Vibe program. So great program down there. I know the enrollment into it is really, really high. So no additional student cost. Packback, we work with Alex over there at the bookstore. We let him know, hey, Dr. Whoever is going to be using Packback. Boom, he gets it done on his end. We drop the paywall on our end, and students aren't met with that cost when they log in.
That's awesome.
Mm.
So another question, and maybe you can share a screen here. I told you right before we started that I've been playing in mine.
Mhm.
Because I got a course last week. And I definitely will need some training on exactly what all of these things mean. And I know, well, there are a couple of things. You said that you will meet one-on-one with
Yep.
anyone who's setting it up. So that's terrific. That will give people time to go through. A second thing, though, in the interim, while people are thinking about it and trying to decide where to go, do you have recommended, videos that you think, training videos from Packback that they might want to look at to kind of orient themselves?
Absolutely. So I always recommend meeting with myself first. It's the easiest way to get those specific questions. Yes, you can go and sift through videos, but if you have specific questions, I'm your go-to person to help. We also have is we'll have first day of class resources. We have syllabus language, presentations to share with the class. We have a million resources for students, a 24/7 help desk. So a lot of support for everybody involved. Also, every campus has an experience manager. So somebody along with myself in the name experience have these instructors have a great experience using the platform. So that's somebody who is going to be meeting with you. It could be once a month for instructors who've used Packback for a while. Maybe it's email touches. Maybe it's once a semester to help set up. It could be as much support as hands-on or as hands-off as these instructors feel you need. But every university has an experience manager to support faculty along with myself.
I really want to jump in here and uplift what Nick just shared about the level of support. I feel like it's white glove service. That's going to be my language. I don't know if they consider it white glove service, but as a faculty member, and I'm sure most of you on this call are very busy, right? And you're thinking about if it's a new course prep or even if it's a course you've taught before, but you're just trying to update it or thinking about integrating Packback into that course. it can be overwhelming thinking about adding a new tool. But this company, really, the experience manager, everyone there, the support that they give to the students, it's really been like, hey, I'll send you my syllabus. This is kind of what I'm thinking. And I've been in a space where it's like I only have a couple weeks to prep for this course. These are my goals. And then, as Nick mentioned, they set up the sandbox community for you. I've even had experienced managers help build out assignments or put things into my course if I don't have the bandwidth or in that training that you mentioned earlier. And so there's a lot of heavy lifting that can be done for you on your behalf for your benefit. It is a platform in my experience that hasn't been like a really heavy learning curve. But if you're like, how am I going to write these assignments or put these things in, or where do I go? Where do I click? Um, this company really does, again, I say white glove, help to build it out for you. It's not something that you're going to have to do alone unless you want to. And so they will kind of come alongside. I've had students every semester that well, actually, your students may not need this because they're getting it covered. But if students need help, I've had students who couldn't pay out of pocket, and the company was really great with helping those students. Or if they had a technical question, the company has been really great in just getting back to students quickly. And so I just wanted to plus one what Nick just shared with you and saying my experience. It's been a phenomenal partnership, and the company really listens to faculty. So there's a lot of things that I've seen this company add on to the platform that have come from instructor feedback. And I'll say, hey, Nick, I'm struggling with this. I need a button here. I need the product to do X and Y. What's going on? And it's like, oh yeah, Chevon. Others instructors have said the same thing. It's in beta mode. It's coming out in a year or coming out next semester. I'm like, okay.
Hmm.
So the responsiveness to your ideas and saying, how can we make this product work for you? I've seen it in real time. So I'm excited to share that as well.
Yeah, we always love our instructor feedback because, like Siobhan will have something that isn't the best in Packback. We hear it a couple times. We're like, okay, our engineers are amazing. So, I mean, the only way to grow as a company and to improve is to actually hear from the people that are using the product. And then what's great about with JSU is the experience manager that works alongside myself. There was actually a college professor, has her PhD in sociology, taught at LSU, up to 700 students, which is always insane to hear how she did it. But she used Packback, enjoyed it so much, and then ended up flipping to this side of the Zoom screen, and now has worked here for 4 years. So she's amazing. But just another great resource that all of our JSU folks will have.
Dr. Williams, I see you have unmuted. Does that mean you have a question?
Yes, hi and hi colleagues. I've used the product before and I've talked with Michelle and Ryan and Nicholas. So I've been in the ecosystem. uh, I felt like I got overwhelmed because I was going through so much transition, but I really loved it. The problem that I was experiencing, or I'd rather say a challenge, was getting the students to engage. I had it assigned and it ended up where students would just get a zero because they didn't click into it and, follow the prompt and provide the writing. So I wondered if there were any suggestions on engaging the students because I ended up just having to let it sit until I can study it and learn more and just kind of I'm learning the system and they're learning the system and I feel like we kind of clashed a little bit, but I'm sure that won't be the problem for everybody. It was just where I was in my uh on campus time, just so busy.
Yeah,
But I
Siobhan,
liked
I'll
it.
yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, Siobhan, I'll let you go ahead and speak on how you incorporate it. I know you've been using for so long, so I guess it's a little bit easier now if you remember your first semester. But I'll
Yeah.
go after and touch on some of the resources.
Yeah, Dr. Williams, I'm sure there are things that I might say that you're already doing, but to everyone who hasn't really been and getting their hands in there are several things that I've done to kind of have a high level of engagement. First and foremost, Nick mentioned I start off my semester explaining why I'm choosing to use this platform. So the kind of guiding syllabus or the syllabus language and the kind of PowerPoint slides that the company gives, I've modified those for my own usage. But I do openly talk about why I choose to use the platform, how it will benefit and help the students as they're in my class and beyond. So I'm very intentional about that space and time, maybe about 10 minutes, if you will, I take there. I'm also active in the platform. And so some of this, again, is student led. So again, I will post questions or post things in there. I will give formative feedback. And I think if you meet with Nick, it will show you how to give that feedback, some of which is public and all the students can see. So I'm praising students that their peers can see. This was a really great post. This was a really great assignment. And they can see that. And so that I've heard from my students encourages them to say, it's not kind of like a set it and forget it. I'm choosing to use this platform or tool, but I'm never in there besides grading. And so I'm actively engaging with them. And also, sometimes, not every single class, I might bring in the platform into my class and show it on the screen or whatever I'm choosing to use, and then highlight those students or highlight something that really piqued my curiosity. Like, wow, I never thought about this. Let's have a dialogue. Let's talk about it, or just kind of to bring that into the classroom. And then the last thing I'll note is that I make it a significant portion of my class grade. And so it's kind of forcing the students to be in the platform. So that varies per the class, but upward, I mean, the minimum I've done is like 15%. Some courses I've done more than 15% of 50% of their assignments are rooted in Packback. And so it really is guiding them to say, I want you to do your writing in the platform. The discussion is not going to be in the LMS. It's going to be in Packback. All of these assignments are built in. And so it's kind of guiding or forcing their hand to use it, which levels up the engagement. I've also rewarded the gamification aspect of the platform that's already built in. I've kind of used that to leverage extra credit points, things like that. And that's been a fun feature for students. So those are some of the ways that I've been able to keep my engagement high.
Okay, thank you. I guess I'd stop too fast because I did not have it a higher percentage of the grade nor the gamification. So I picked up a lot of tips and tricks there with that. So thank you. I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
it.
Yeah, and the first semester is always a whirlwind. You're learning a new platform the same way they're learning a new platform. So getting ahead of it a little bit earlier, making sure that you're comfortable on that first day of class. Siobhan, and one of the biggest things that we hear from instructors that's really helpful is she said she takes 10 minutes and goes through the platform in class. That's always so helpful. You don't have to go into a ton of depth on it, but at least just maybe taking 10 minutes and be like, hey, let's log in really quick, especially with the Vibe program at JSU. Take 10 minutes, be like, everybody, pull out your laptop, let's log in. We also have syllabus language. We have that first day of class presentation. We have a million videos that we can have on hand for the students that they need. We always have our instructors direct their students to our 24/7 help desk. They're extremely responsive, really helpful for if that student. We don't want them to give up at midnight because something went wrong and pack back and then just be like, oh, I'm just not going to do it. We want them to reach out to our help team because they'll be able to respond and get them the answers that they need. So again, I understand that first semester is always so crazy, and then we'll have more. We're always learning, so what works the best? But I would say, yeah, that taking a couple minutes at the beginning of class, getting students logged in, and then having those resources just within Canvas or providing them for those students.
Yeah, Dr. Williams, I didn't mention this, but something just struck me. In addition to what I just shared, again, I teach primarily STEM-based courses, so not really writing intensive in its kind of inception. But I tell students all the time that most of my students are like pre-med, they're looking to go to some professional health school after graduation. I will use their post in Packback to help me craft information I put in my letters of recommendation. So I share kind of, I wouldn't say unconventional ways, but I'm telling them this is how I'm going to use your engagement on this platform. And so even if I don't choose to use the writing service of the platform, they are still writing in their discussion posts. I can see what they're curious about. I can see what their passions are, and I bring that into other aspects of my role. And I tell them that outright, like, I can see your writing, I can see how it's involved, and I'll use that in these kind of ways. I also mentioned the writing lab, and I think it's still called the writing lab, if that's correct, Nick.
Yep.
And so I tell them again, these are the assignments in my course, but you have access to this writing lab that you can use this integrated AI coaching in all the other courses that you're enrolled in. So whether you're taking the English, the history, the sociology, for my grad students, my doctoral students, you're writing your thesis, you're working on writing your resume, like you're writing in all these other aspects of your life. Use this platform right now, even if it's not biochemistry related, you can benefit from this platform in all of your other courses that you're currently taking. And that is a big selling point that students have latched onto. And they'll tell me, yeah, I use it to help in my history class or whatever else they're currently enrolled in.
Siobhan, just in the chat, there was a question about online students. Can you just touch on what you do for them? And then I've also got some ideas for that as well.
Yeah, so what I do for online students isn't really that much different from what I do for students who are in person. I may change depending on the enrollment. Again, Nick mentioned the curiosity score, so that's an engagement or effort kind of based metric that may increase or decrease based on the enrollment or the level of the student. But I really set up the platform to be as engaging as I can, maybe increase the touch points, especially if it's online and it's primarily kind of discussion driven and based. So I may have more assignments for that online class, things of that nature. It's really dynamic in that I can add videos, I can add links, I can add photos. And so just like you would leverage maybe here Canvas is the LMS, it's the same here. I might add videos of myself to kind of bring personalization into the course, things of that nature. And you can do that in Packback as well. But it's really not largely different, I would say, the way that I run the course in an online community. I just may have more assignments based on the platform.
And then what about just for yeah, Yolanda, I see your question on that, and I'll touch on that as well in a second. But what about just getting students into the platform for online? Do you like where you put things in the announcement? What have you seen that's worked? And then again, I've got some ideas.
Yeah, so for me, I put it in the syllabus. I use the syllabus language that's given, or I might modify it. I use the announcement features in the LMS. I send them a welcome email. I do provide links. I do have some early assignments on kind of getting to know the platform, if you will, that gets them familiar. I do record myself kind of going through the platform, very much like the 10 minutes I may take in an in-person class. And so they see me use it and explaining why we're using it, things of that nature. And so I hopefully that answers your question. I do take some time to explain the platform and kind of show a case usage and or direct them to the platform's resources, excuse me, as Nick mentioned, they already have recorded videos and a kind of a 24/7 student support space. And some of those are really great, and I might link those
Mhm.
as well. So there is kind of a little bit of an onboarding, but I haven't had students come back around and say this was a huge learning curve. They've really designed it, in my opinion, to feel kind of social media-esque. I don't know if that's intentional, but the students get in there, they're like, yes, this feels familiar.
Mhm.
I know what to do. So that's been my experience. I hopefully that answers the question.
Yes, thank you. And then, yeah, for online students, like Siobhan had mentioned, so the syllabus language is always really important. That first day of class presentation, rather than sharing it in front of the class on the first day, we always have our instructors or recommend that they just post that just right within Canvas, throwing in announcements. We have walkthrough videos for students just on how to navigate. When they actually log into Packback for the first time, they will get met with, I think it's a quick little 2 minute video, but just on how to navigate the platform based on what it's going to be used for. And then I'm thinking anything else. We'll have, again, that 24/7 help desk for the students. That's, I know we've talked about it a couple times, but that's always really helpful. So if students have a question like, hey, I can't get logged in, where does this live? Have them reach out and we'll be able to get all of the resources. Again, I have a million resources that I send to my instructors to have for the students, but if students need more specific ones, absolutely, we'll be able to help them out as well.
They never have to go to a second screen or log in, right? Like
Yes,
once
that's
it's
great too.
linked to or deep linked, whatever the language is, I'm not a technology person, but once it's linked to your active Canvas course, students will just log into Canvas as they normally would and see in the left main hand navigation Packback, click there and it will take them to, right, the Packback course page for your course. So there really isn't, they make it as easy as possible in that 2 minutes it takes to just link both of the platforms together. The student experience is really seamless. I just open Canvas, I click Packback, it will automatically open up the course page. And so there's really nothing that the students need to do. The syllabus language there is just for support. Hopefully your students read your syllabi. It's a decorative item for my student, but it's there. But I think on that end, the students really just need to log into Canvas. Once they're there, it's smooth sailing from there.
So I'm curious, as we're coming to the end of the hour, you can drop in the chat or give us a thumbs up. How many of you are thinking about giving it a try this fall to see how it works with your students? I'm definitely doing it. I know got a couple of folks. There we go. A couple of folks who Dr. Williams says she will try again. I got to tell you, Dr. Williams is game for anything. She is just super positive. So if she had a hard time, that's okay. And she's also teaching first semester college writers.
Yeah.
So there's also that transition to college challenge that they are facing.
Yes, and I didn't get it to help with formatting, and I think that was one of the things I just thought about as someone was talking. I was trying to teach them how to format in MLA, and turns out that you can't format within the well at the time in the platform, and so that was one of the questions I was asking is how do you set it up in say APA format or MLA format, and with those students, they were able to, the ones who did it, use it, but then we had that other piece, so I still had to kind of come out in the type of class like Dr. Bezetta said, in that type of class with those brand new college students. They just needed so much, but I still love the platform though.
Dr.
And one of the
Hernandez, you
newer
had a
things,
question. Oh,
I was just gonna say real quick, one of the newer things now is I think Dr. Williams, when you used, we didn't even have page breaks. That is, I think as of the spring is the first time, so makes it a little bit easier for those more specific formatting options. But yeah,
Oh,
we'll be able to, yeah. So that'll be something that I
yay!
didn't show today, but yeah, we can touch on that when we meet and get you set up.
Yay!
Dr. Hernandez, did you have a question?
Yes, yes, I do. So I have, I think it's called Sandbox account. So anyway, the first time we met at a few months ago. Anyway, the question is that I've been trying to find out those resources that Dr. Thorpe mentioned, like a PowerPoint and the syllabus write-up in your website, and I was not successful, uh, which it could be a criticism there
That
because
would be all things that you will get from me. So I
oh
have those all on hand and I just send them to you. Once I start working with any of my instructors, setting them up for the first time is I get them all to you. I mean, really, I can send them to you right now. If you're ready, I'll
oh
send them
please
over and you can
would
have
you?
them. Yeah. And then for your community, and this will just be good for everybody to check out really quickly. Here, let me just go to a random one where you can find this syllabus language. It'll live within Packback right on this left-hand side. So you go in, click on settings, and then download syllabus info. And I'll be able to touch on any of this with you all when we meet. And then you just download the syllabus statement. It'll download it as a Word doc. You copy and paste it, make the adjustment that you'd like. Anything in red is for you to edit. That's like grade percentage, what part of the platform you were using, but it'll have this whole syllabus statement already done for you. And then the first day of class presentation is just something that I can email you. And that's just a Google slide or PowerPoint that is editable, again, for why you're using Packback, what parts of the tools you're using, all that good stuff.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yep.
And at
Absolutely.
least it makes me feel like I'm not incompetent because I wasn't supposed to find it because it's after the. Okay, so I'm not.
Yeah.
No, I
I
always like it. I always recommend throwing time on my calendar, and then
Yeah,
we
yeah,
meet to get the ball rolling. It's always a lot easier just meeting in person to then chat through everything,
yeah.
any of those specific questions.
So
awesome.
one of the things that's so exciting for us nerds is digging around in all of this, but it takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of mental energy. So I wanted to know, my last question is, so the folks who want to get started this summer, how do you want to handle these? Do you want them to send you
Yeah,
emails? Do you want us
I
to funnel them through to you? What do you want?
no, yes, absolutely. Everybody can reach out to me, and here I'm going to throw a couple things in the chat just for everybody to have on hand. One being my Canvas, or sorry, Canvas. I've said Canvas so many times today. One being my calendar link, so I'll put that in there. Throw time on there. I will be traveling for the next 2 weeks, but that first week, July 13th, I believe, is that week. I'll be back, so please throw time on there, or later this week as well. And then also just my calendar link, or sorry, not calendar link, my email. If you want to shoot me an email, we can find some time as well there. And then yeah, Candace, if you have a list of the faculty that were in this meeting, but then also the ones that weren't able to make it that you're going to send the recording to, send those my way, and I can just shoot everybody an email and with my link, and then find some time to meet with everybody.
Sounds great. Thank you so much.
Um,
Yeah,
And
Candice, if
Siobhan,
I
yeah,
can ask one last thing,
sure.
when you say uh, those of us who will tell you for the summer, you really mean for the fall, right?
Right.
yes, for
I
the
mean,
false.
Okay,
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah,
yeah,
just training in the summer, access this summer, training this summer for your fall classes. Yes. Thank
Mhm.
you for that clarification.
yeah, because I thought like, oh, isn't it a little bit too late for the summer courses? But yeah, put me in, coach. You know,
Awesome. Cool. I'll send you an email.
yeah.
All
All
right.
right.
All right. Thank you all. Thank you for the questions. Thank you, Siobhan, for coming on and kind of giving us the instructor perspective. Nick, always a pleasure to hear from you.
Thank you.
Patrice, thank you for joining us. I hope that we are going to double the number of Packback users on
Yes. Yes.
campus. And maybe this time, 6 months from now, these folks can come and talk to their colleagues about the changes they've seen in their student writing. So that would be
Yes.
really
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's the plan. Yes. Thank you all so much. And I'm looking very forward to working with you all.
all right.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Have a
Have a
Take
great
great
care.
day.
day. Bye.
Thank you all. Bye bye.